Hi, and welcome to another edition of Newsmakers Journal of the Variant Year. It is Thursday, January 13th. We're coming to you a day early this week, and we are joined by our panel of top local journalists: Josh Molina, International Man of Mystery; Jane Martinez-Pogue of Newshawk; Nick Welsh, award-winning columnist and executive editor of The Independent; and Ryan P. Cruz, staff reporter for The Independent. Thanks all for coming. So Jade, these numbers are really getting crazy on the Omicron virus. This is like the biggest spike yet, almost, is it not?
Yeah, it is. So we finally got an update from Public Health on Tuesday, and they showed some pretty scary numbers. We're hitting record case rates, record testing positivity. I guess the bit of good news is that although the hospitalizations are climbing, they're similar to what we've seen in past surges. So the hospitalizations aren't as bad as the amount of cases that they're reporting. But yeah, record breaking.
Yeah, like Henning Ansor makes the point that, if it's if you have more cases, even if it's, the same percentage, there's going to be more people. Can you clarify what the situation is about tests and the availability of tests? And because with so many people getting sick, there's a huge demand for it, but not much supply.
Yeah, so the county has some free testing sites, which not too sure, actually. You have to check online, but I think they're probably appointment based. There might be some walk-in, but I've heard people saying that they wait hours and hours to get tests. I had to get tested recently. I went, I think, 20 minutes before an urgent care opened, and I was still waiting about an hour before I actually got tested. There's the at-home tests, which are useful too, but those are selling they could be fully stocked on one day and gone the next. So it's really crazy, but the public health department is getting 80,000 at-home test kits weekly, I think distribution beginning next week. And those will be passed out at the 5 public health centers.
And those are the ones that are coming from the feds?
Yeah, through the partnership with HRSA.
And we're each supposed to have 8 of those a month or something?
Yeah, so insurance is supposed to reimburse or pay for up to 8 per month per person. So I guess that's good. If you buy them at their store, they're usually between $10 and $20 on their own.
Yeah, you haven't had COVID, have you, Jade?
I had COVID last year.
Oh, you did?
Last Christmas, yeah.
I was going to say this is the only news show that guarantees you won't get COVID, but I guess I can't do that now. All right, so Nick.
Wow, Jerry, we're just violating people's personal medical history now. Why don't you ask the panel?
She's a reporter. She spends her life asking people to cough up personal information, and if she won't do it, then she's in the wrong business. Nick, everybody keeps saying, well, this is a milder form and stuff, which reminds me of my first day on a city desk when I put the phrase minor surgery in a story and got my ass chewed out because the only surgery that's minor is that which happens to someone else. So I'm a little reluctant to say this is mild, but they had a big fight at the supervisors about how many people are going to die as a result of this. And a lot of dystopian numbers.
It was a pretty, it was funny. This was the first supervisors meeting of the year. And at the beginning of it, there was a ceremonial passing of the gavel from Bob Nelson, who was the chair last year, to Joan Hartman, who was the chair this year. And they were all talking about how amazingly well they got along, even though they disagree. And it was very kumbaya, and everybody was collegial, and they were talking about, active listening and the culture of active listening. And there's some truth to it. But, Nelson, who was the most conservative member, said, his proudest achievement in the past year was that he never had to use the gavel. And then when he got off the chair, he kind of went a little bit more pugilistic. He essentially accused, without naming, Juan de Reynoso of fueling the suicide increase by young teens, saying that the information, there were these projections. They were saying if present trends continue, we're going to see the death rate increase by somewhere like 200 new deaths in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that was the most dramatic. The number of hospitalizations was going up. The number of ICUs, they were all going up in very alarming numbers. But death rate, that's the one, like 200 more dead people in 2 to 3
So
weeks.
Nelson he just didn't want to talk about it, or what?
No, but he said that these numbers, he said it was reckless and irresponsible to throw out these projections, because all it does is freak people out. And we don't really know. And it was really just, he predicted correctly exactly what the media was going to do, which was we were going to put that at the top of the story. And
What?
and so it really sort of got, you see the 2 North County supervisors, Bob Nelson and Steve Lavanino, we need to learn how to live with COVID. And we need to figure out how to this is the new normal that we have to deal with. And Nelson himself was sort of poo-pooing. He said, yeah, we're having a lot more COVID cases, but we're not seeing a lot more hospitalizations. And I don't know that that's true. When you read the newspapers, around California and the United States, hospitals are getting slammed. And, I called up Maria Zate and, talked with her about what's happening at Cottage. And the numbers are not off the charts, but their staff is getting slammed, and their staff is getting, infected and exposed, and they have to they have to quarantine and do all this stuff. And there's only so many.
Right.
Yeah, they can only take it so much.
Yeah. So Ryan, one place that has learned to live with COVID is the county jail. We got 25% of the incarcerated have been diagnosed with COVID. What's going on there?
Yeah, that it's been over a quarter now. It was in a month of just over 4 weeks, 208 cases, and that was as of Tuesday. So it might be more now. We did have one day last week where there was no new cases found, and they were looking forward to having more days like that. But just like Nick said, a lot of the staff there, they're overworked, they're spread too thin. Their well past staff is at 45% right now of the workforce. So they're really spread thin, and the growing numbers, having over 700 people in there when we were down to about 550. That's really adding to the problems, because they're having to house people, because they have to separate them into cohorts when they're found to be positive, and they're having to house them in units that haven't been used or are not supposed to be used except for emergency situations, and even having up to one person sleeping on the floor because of the amount of beds they can have in one space.
Yeah, and is it a factor that 100 deputies have refused to get the vaccine? How much of a factor is that?
So we've had a couple people reach out to us that were either family or friends of people that were in jail, and I spoke to them, and they were more worried about just the space and getting the care that they needed. And that was Aaron Fisher also was the basis of that, is that the people in there aren't getting the care when they need it. You have to send in a kite, which is a note, and that can take a couple of days. There's no really prompt response. And it's mostly that the staff in there are wearing masks. There are protocols in there at the moment, but the people that are transporting them, that's kind of the worry, that the people transporting them, if they're not getting tested, if they're not vaccinated, and they're not reporting in the testing and what they're supposed to be doing, then that can be adding to this growing rate. And having 700 people in there and the North County not being ready yet to move everybody, and that would be a whole nother process of moving everybody in buses and and spreading the staff over there, it would kind of add to the worries at this moment. They're kind of waiting for it to chill down, it seems.
And then Josh, in the schools, I see our friend Cammie Barnwell managed to get a photograph of the county superintendent loading new tests, boxes of tests. I'm sure she was there all day doing that. I believe that ran in the Independent. But anyway, what's going on with testing in the schools?
So they set out this week, Monday, to test 13,000 students, and they're probably going to finish up today. The problem was last week, something like 2,800 students in Santa Barbara Unified were absent on a single day.
There's about 13,000 altogether.
Yeah, around there. And so they're like, whoa, this attendance is really low. It's typically low around this time because a lot of Latino families go to Mexico or they travel and they come back a little bit later. So they missed the first week or so of school, but it was still about 1,800 above what is normally the absent rate during this time of the year. So they implemented mandatory testing. And as of Monday, which was the latest numbers that the district has put out, there were 260 students and staff who had tested positive for COVID-19, and they're doing it in a way that is controversial. It's not the same on every campus, but they're having students get tested. Classes are going to, in some cases, cafeterias. They're being tested there, and then if they test positive, they're being pulled out of school later in the day and asked, obviously to quarantine for 10 days or prove a positive or a negative COVID test, on day 6.
But the other kids in the class who have been exposed to the one who was sent home are not sent home, correct?
No, the district has
a difference than what we were doing in the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, the district has suspended contact tracing. They said they just don't have the staff to do it anymore. So in their infinite wisdom, they decided to test everybody, 13,000 people. And their idea is we'll find out who has COVID, they'll stay home, and we don't have to close schools. So there was a board meeting on Tuesday. They kind of went over this. And, there's the usual amount of parent discomfort. There's always the people who don't like the masks, who don't believe COVID is as serious as everyone makes it out to be, and they're a regular part of public comment. But we're seeing an increasing amount of sort of staff and, teachers who are raising concerns about the process of the testing. So that's sort of the new thing that is going on. We'll know more numbers tomorrow at the end of the week. Also, amid all this, the school board decided to cancel all sports and extracurricular activities. So these kids weren't able to play last weekend. They haven't been able to play this week. And there's concern among students and parents that this was unnecessary. The other districts that they play against didn't cancel their games. And so they're all concerned about, CIF, about playoffs. Is this going to hurt them? Why did we get punished and they didn't?
And what's the explanation?
Well, the explanation was that a lot of kids on the sports teams got COVID, right? And so we can't have them going out and playing. And in some cases, there just aren't enough players to fill the team. But that's not the case with every team, and everything got canceled. And so, the school district is in a state of transition. We've got a lot of people leaving the district. We've got new people coming into the district. It's not really a place that I would point to as sort of saying that, they've got a firm handle on how everything is going. They are just sort of trying to keep things afloat week to week. And so one thing we didn't talk about, Jerry, was Fran Wagneck, the longtime assistant superintendent, very well liked, very well respected. She's credited for really helping out at La Cuesta a few years ago before she was promoted. And she's been a principal at other schools. She announced she'd retirement. So she's another part of this administrator cabinet exodus that we're seeing since Hilda's been on board. So as COVID is playing out we have this other layer.
She was right in the middle of
Jade.
the Ed Barron's Kerry Matsuoko scandal too. So let's not knock ourselves out patting her on the back on that. But anyway,
Jerry, for those of us who've been here longer than a few years, her history goes back longer
yeah.
than how you feel about Ed Barron's.
All right. Hey, Jade, but so you had a piece about Goleta schools though, which says they got enough tests to send them home to test everybody's family.
Yeah, so Goleta has set up, I guess from my understanding, is a separate line or a separate tent at the Earl Warren Showgrounds. And as long as your family is registered with the district or something, I think opted in to the surveillance testing, then whoever lives in that household can go get tested. Josh went out there the other day, I think, to check out the lines, but I can't imagine the lines would be anywhere near as long as, you know, what other people have to wait in now. So yeah, it seems like a really cool thing that they're able to do that. They're partnered with Aptitude. I think a lot of districts in the county have partnered with them for their testing.
And they seem like they also have a higher vaccination rate, as I want to say 80% from reading your story, if my recollection is correct. And countywide, we're only at about 70. Hey, Nick, am I off base in trying to connect the dots between the deputies refusing to get the vaccination and the spike in the jail?
Yeah, I don't know if you're off base. I think really what's happening is that you have more people in the jail because beginning around November 1st, they're holding people on, who have warrants because they didn't show up for court for misdemeanor charges. And previously, those cases were let slide in the interest of keeping the jail population down. But beginning in November 1st, a change of policy, the presiding court judge said, you know what, you can hold these people now. So if, let's say you had a DUI and you didn't show up because there's a warrant out for you, now you can be held, whereas the underlying offense would have been so minor they wouldn't have held you.
But the warrant offense is a felony, or it's also a misdemeanor?
It's also a misdemeanor.
But Ryan, I thought you said in your piece that there weren't that many misdemeanor.
There's 10% misdemeanors, but if you take the numbers, that's triple what it was this time last year. So typically the misdemeanors would be, maybe in the 20, 30, 50 at the jail at any given time. And there's about 80 to 90 right now misdemeanor charges. And like Nick said, it's a lot of people missing their court cases. It's also a big push for public safety. And that's that people have been let out, and then we see the next day a burglary or something, and you read this guy was just let out the day before. And it's really they're trying to find that fine line between probation and alternative sentencing, where can we look at these people that maybe served most of their sentence, can we let them out a little bit earlier? That's what they've done in Orange County, and that's kind of what the
creepy story about the guy that was in the girl's shower and he got let out the day before for doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that's one of those things. You read that, and there's a push to keep our streets safe, and especially when homelessness was kind of going up for a little bit there during COVID, when the numbers were down in the jail. So people are pushing to keep the streets safe and keeping our neighborhoods safe, and that has an effect.
Do we still have zero bail? Do we still have zero bail?
Yeah, we do, but just on that case, because that is such a creepy case. That guy, even though he's described as being homeless, and how did he have money? He was charged with a felony offense the first time when he broke into the home of an elderly gentleman, and not quite clear what he did while there. He was charged with a felony. He had $50,000 bail. He somehow posted that bail. Typically, that's $5,000 he came up with. So he got out, and then 2 days later, boom, he was doing it again. This time the bail is $500,000. So that's one of those horror stories that doesn't really go to the point of misdemeanor people. He's a scary, creepy guy, or a creepy offense that would not have been a zero bail case in any circumstance.
But thanks to the way the media sensationalizes things, it's all the same thing in people's minds, Nick. What can I tell you? All right, Josh, Nick scooped you on Gregg Hart running for assembly, I noticed. How did that happen?
Jerry, don't try to cause trouble between 1 and 2 just because Greg didn't call you. So, you can scoff all you want.
I blocked him.
You blocked him. Well, the truth of the matter is I let Nick have that one because Nick needs one. It's been a while. And the other part of it is Nick wanted this one so bad. He's like the little like 5-year-old in the toy store who's like, I want that, I want that, I want that. And Dad's just like, you can have it. Nick wrote a story about Greg's thinking about it, thinking about running. So we might as well let him have the story of Greg's
action. I have to tell you, this is a story I would rather not report on at all. I would much rather Gregg stay as the Board of Supervisors and we don't have to play music with chairs.
So, doesn't that clear the field for the assembly race? I mean, I know we have you're a candidate, Gabe Escobedo, Josh, and Jonathan Abood running, but I mean, come on, how are you going to beat this guy?
Yeah, I mean, Gregg is unbeatable. I don't care if people are like, no, he's not. The only person who's going to beat Gregg is going to be like a celebrity. It's going to take somebody who's like a crossover candidate, a celebrity with a little bit of name. I don't know. I mean, Andrew Firestone, I don't know if he's going to run, but that's like the only person who can beat Gregg. Gabe Escobedo is great, right? Jonathan Abood, great, but they can't beat Gregg Hart. Gregg Hart has been on a ballot for 3 decades. Can raise a ton of money. Already has a ton of money. He's whip smart. He knows the policy issues. He's not just like sound bites. He's got experience and a record, and he's really unbeatable. The only person giving a challenge is going to be some candidate.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, an assembly race it's a big race. I mean, as Jonathan found out when he ran last year, or whenever the year before. For it, and Gabe, I agree with you, is a great guy, but maybe he should think about council first or something like that. It's just a big first step to take to elective office. So who's going to run for Gregg's seat, Nick?
Names here are Laura Capps, who is on this school board and ran against DOS before.
So how does she get around the carpetbagger question?
I think if you move from the 1st to the 2nd district, you move a few hundred feet, people are probably going to look the other. The only people who are going to care about that are people who don't like her anyway. And if you like her, you're not going to care.
If DOS Williams were to move out of the 1st district to run for the 2nd district, all hell would break loose. I can't believe you're saying that.
Would he get both seats then?
Maybe he should. So let me just clarify. I don't think voters too much are going to care. Like, that's not the deciding point about whether they're going to vote for Laura. But among those in the know, I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to be on the school board? Do you want to be 1st district supervisor? Do you want to be 2nd district supervisor? Or do you just want to be in elected office? Like, what's the deal? She's going to run. She will be formidable because of her name. Luz Reyes Martin also is probably going to run.
I heard she wasn't, but
she's going to be formidable if she were to run. You don't think so, Nick?
I don't know anything. I heard that she's reluctant. I heard Wendy Sims Moten is being encouraged very strongly to jump in. It's still early.
Well, when's the primaries? The primaries. Is a primary in March or June? I should know this, but I don't. I'm not.
It's in June, so it's really not that early. They need to come out soon. The problem is Gregg Hart's got what, like $400,000 or something already in the can. It's a race. Well, Gregg Hart's running for assembly. The problem is that it's going to be really hard for somebody to come in and win outright. So we're probably going to see some sort of runoff in November. So it might be just like who can get 1 and 2.
Now, you heard it there first. Greg will win in the first round. He'll get over 50%. All right, Jade. Now, I know that you're a big sucker for animal stories, and your knowledge of kangaroos and their boxing abilities is second to none. But what did you think of this story of up at Painted Cave? Nick, talk about that. That was the weirdest story of the week.
It's a really interesting story. We have an intern named Madison Smokes who just started with us, and she wrote it. But everybody heard, like on Christmas Eve, a mountain lion broke into the house of Ted Adams, who's well-known, ham radio organizer, safety volunteer in the community, and grabbed his daughter's dog. And the daughter, who is no one to mess with, somehow got the mountain lion trapped in a room, locked the door, went in after it with some bear spray, and got her dog back. But apparently that's just the tip of the iceberg. That if we have the numbers right, I think 10 goats. The word murder is used by residents up there because they don't eat. The mountain lion isn't eating the goats; it's just killing them.
Really? Serial killer, goat serial killer.
Serial, yes, and a number of dogs and cats and people. That's a very sort of let nature be nature place. People live there because they like nature, and none of the people up there are eager to get a mountain lion pelt. And they've been going to Fish and Wildlife, Fish and Game, saying, "Hey, we need some help here. Can you give us a hand? Like relocate this thing." But the problem is they don't relocate mountain lions, because if you take this mountain lion somewhere else, it's going to be encroaching on the turf of another mountain lion, and they'll attack each other. At least that is what we were told.
All right. Jade, what do you think? What should be done about the mountain lion?
I don't know. Wait, so it got into the house? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Into the room?
I ate the dog. Well, I tried to eat the dog. Yeah.
Tried to get it had the dog in his mouth.
Distant cousin of Henry. And then
Sure, the goats are the mountain lion, or is it a chupacabra situation?
Hey, Ryan, and then real quick, you just had this thing posted. I guess another guy has died in the jail, apparent suicide, or what do we know about that?
Well, that was the one that we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier. There's not really a lot of info right now. So somebody has died. He was placed on a suicide watch. He apparently had talked about killing himself or killing somebody, and he was placed in a safety cell, a single occupancy safety cell, where they strip you. That it's protocol to take away clothing and sheets so they can't hurt themselves, can't hang themselves. But a couple minutes later, as far as this release says, they went back in and he was face down and found dead. So we don't know much about it at this moment.
There are more to come on that. And then Josh, I see you have Oscar on the podcast, Oscar Gutierrez, city council member for the District 3, complaining about the 400 block of State Street being not getting its share of love. Why didn't you just have Ray Maboob on and eliminate the middleman?
Did you actually listen or watch my podcast, Jerry? You actually hit play, or you just headline?
Of course I did. Okay. I always do, Josh. I always do.
Well,
you know that, and then the Bill McFadden one is really my favorite, I have to say.
He always speaks highly of you, Jerry. Come on. 400 block obviously has got some issues. There was a restaurant that closed, drew attention. Oscar Gutierrez wants cars to be closed on that part of State Street as well, or cars to be not allowed to drive, or he wants Haley and Gutierrez to go both ways. So he's trying to draw attention to it. That side of the block is in his district. So there's a lot going on right now. The city wants to extend the ability of restaurants to be able to have outdoor dining for another 18 months. However, they also want them to move them to portable so that, they can move them in and out, and the businesses are really unhappy about this. Go ahead, Nick, that's your next scoop. Go ahead, you can write about it.
We already got that. We already got it.
Oh, somebody was thinking about it and Nick wrote about it. Okay, we got it that. So anyway, that's what's going on, and that's sort of the next stage of this.
All right. And Jade, when are we going to begin to see the work product of your fellowship?
Beginning of March is when the first one is set to post. Still got some work to do.
Is that after finals? Do you have to take coursework and do finals and stuff like that for this fellowship? And we should also congratulate new Mayor Randy Rouse. We don't have to call him Mayor-elect anymore. In a mercifully brief ceremony. I thought the best thing that happened was the way he shut Bob Hansen up. Hansen was just, heckling him unmercifully about being a Trump guy and everything. And he did it with a joke. And to see the mayor actually making a joke, what a nice change that was for the new year. So, Nick, I know you skipped Randy's thing because you're still sulking, but that's okay. That's all right.
I was busy covering the COVID hearing.
Oh, yes, you were busy inflating the deaths. I forgot. All right, everybody. Nick Welsh and Ryan Cruz and Jade Martinez-Pogue and Josh Molina, thanks so much, and thanks for joining us. We will see you next time on Newsmakers.
All right, you take care.